That day I went off to work. It was just a normal day. I probably got up around 4:15, 4:30. So it was dark, still cold in November. So with my job, there is a lot of traveling, and if you're on time, you're late. If you're 10 minutes early, you're on time. So that's how I've always been with work. I didn't know that was going to be the day my life changed.
It felt like a scene from a movie where you're just on your way to work and two police officers approach you and just break some terrible news.
I was hit on my passenger side, and the EMTs and I guess the fire department had to cut me out of the car.
His door was stuck, his driver's side door, so they had to rip his seatbelt and pull him out through the back. They put him in a neck brace and I guess just loaded him up in the ambulance.
In trauma, because we're dealing with breathing problems and bleeding problems, those things are time sensitive, and getting those patients to the trauma center quickly is life-saving.
Our trauma program is complemented by the outstanding care provided in the field. And we have amazing EMS partners throughout the region who really, quite frankly, are the ones that are on the scene first, provide that pre-hospital care, both EMTs and paramedics, and prep that patient for transport to one of the trauma centers.
We know it's important for patients to get to our hospital as quickly as possible, so our resources can match that patient within the golden hour if we can.
The golden hour is a concept that's several decades old now, but it's this idea that the first hour of a person's care after injury is the most critical.
To be able to impact on somebody within that 60 minutes or better, that will ultimately lead to an increased survival.
So the closer the patient is to a trauma center, the better chance they're going to have of getting their care within that hour.
Transportation from the scene of an injury to what used to be the Philadelphia-based trauma centers was much too long for somebody that needed life-saving care. Paoli Hospital, for example, is the only trauma center in Chester County. We, along with Lankenau, serve a major portion of Delaware and Montgomery counties as well.
Those two hospitals are really on either end of our primary service area, and it just made the most sense to use those two facilities as our anchors for trauma.
With the ambulance having a siren on and everything, it probably got there less than 15 minutes.
If they hadn't gotten him to the hospital quicker, I hate to think of what might have happened. He was in such poor condition. He was intubated. He was in a coma. They had him on a ventilator. So if it was any longer, I'm really not sure what would have happened, but I'm happy that we are so close and they were so prompt and efficient in getting him there in such a timely manner. I'm just thankful for that.
The first time I woke up, I sat up, I noticed all the IVs. I was extremely confused, scared, all those emotions rushing in. I knew I was in a hospital, but also I was just still confused, like, how did I end up here? I was just in bed at home, and now I time warped to a hospital? Like, what just happened here?
I had to call his parents and my parents, and that is something you never want to be on the other end of, having to tell someone our loved one has been in such a terrible accident and we don't know. Is he gonna make it? Is he going to be okay?
Patients mirror the vital signs of those close to them. They feel the best with those around them that love them. That's the first step in that patient healing.
When you're in a situation where it's traumatic or emotional, you need that area of peace and ability to gather your thoughts or make phone calls. It gives you, I think, a sense of comfort.
When I came into Lankenau, I wasn't doing too good. A little bit away from knocking on death's door,
Trauma care is very systematic. What I like to tell a lot of people is, if you think about a dance recital, we do the dance recital every time somebody comes into our trauma bay.
So once a patient arrives at the trauma center, the EMS crew gives their report to the team, and then the team does a very rapid preliminary survey of the patient.
Brain injuries are a lot different than just a broken bone or, anything like that.
First thing, we're going to make sure that their airway is good. We'll definitely do a thorough neuro examination. If they have to be intubated, we'll intubate them immediately.
We then get them over to the CAT scan, which allows us to diagnose the degree of brain injury.
Every 12 hours, he was getting different scans.
CT can allow us to see inside the body and all the parts of the body without obviously doing an operation. The force CT scan that we have is especially powerful because it can take all of those images and do it very, very quickly and with a very high quality of image.
They get their CAT scan on the force really fast, and then they're back on with their patient care. So that's been a really important part of the trauma care that we provide here.
So I think what sets our trauma program apart really is the collaborative nature of our care. The work has to be collaborative for it to be successful. So if there wasn't good communication across every transition of care from our EMS partners to the emergency department, to trauma, to operating room or ICU, the patient would suffer in the gaps.
All trauma centers have to report all their patients into a national data bank. Lankenau and Paoli have routinely been graded to be in the top 10% of all trauma centers in this country.
It's a huge number of people that it takes to do this. It would not be a stretch to say there are hundreds of people who are at each point along the course of the trauma patient's care who are contributing to saving their life.
From the doctors to the nurses, they definitely cared. Everybody wants to get you back to square one.
When the patient hurts, we hurt. We want to help them develop and succeed and get back to their normal daily life.
I think we have a good blend of clinical excellence, but also great service and great care. Sometimes trauma centers focus just on the clinical aspects, but they don't meet the needs of the patients and their families. And I think we've done a great job in blending those two things together. And honestly, a lot of this was made possible through philanthropy, which is even better because the FAST CT in particular was given by a grateful patient who wanted to, make sure we had the latest and greatest technology in our new trauma center.
So that philanthropy really helps us deliver what our community expects from us in a way that I think is good financial stewardship and a good investment on the part of our donors.
With the technologies that they have at Lankenau and Mainline Health as a whole, they were able to really make sure that he was being monitored, so he was in very good hands.
My state was improving in a rapid way, but there was still a long journey ahead.
We were told that Joe was being transferred to Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital, and I think within a matter of hours, he was on his way to Bryn Mawr Rehab. They took him in an ambulance, and it was a smooth transition.
Going from Lankenau to here, it didn't miss a beat. It wasn't like I had to do anything extra or worry about anything.
What's neat for Mainline Health is we know that a trauma center is not just one room. We know that trauma care is not just one place.
We're lucky enough to have a rehab hospital in the system. That means all our trauma patients get evaluated by rehab doctors while they're in the acute care setting, and we can work closely with Bryn Mawr Rehab to identify the patients who will benefit the most and make a simple transition to Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital from either Paoli or Lankenau.
It's a single record. And so all of the care that was done in the acute care environment, that record is available to both inpatient and outpatient providers along the continuum of care at Mainline Health.
I knew once I came here that I was okay, but I also had a lot more hurdles to get over.
The treatment process for an individual who comes in with a traumatic brain injury definitely involves an integrative approach.
When a patient comes into Bryn Mawr Rehab Hospital, all of a sudden they have this whole multidisciplinary team. Every member of that team is a specialist in their field, and their only goal is to help that patient get from where they are, look at what is stopping them from being where they want to be, and helping them get there as quickly and safely as possible.
Every day for, honestly, maybe 3 to 5 hours, he was doing therapies.
Basically, how I justified it in my head was that, you know what, this is now my new job, is my recovery and my new focus.
Just seeing how much he progressed over time with the different technologies that they used and the programs that they put Joe through, it's honestly like night and day from where he started to where he is now. It really helped push him farther and move him along in his recovery process.
It allows us to amplify the benefit we're giving patients. But we don't just use technology for technology's sake. For every patient, every day, every session, we're thinking like, what is the very best thing for this patient to move them towards their goals? And then we're picking technology when it is the most beneficial thing and allows us to amplify the benefit to the patient.
I remember using the driving simulator. There's 3 screens. It's actually pretty lifelike being in a real car.
So different computerized programs working on the ability to really focus attention, sustain attention, and maybe even alternate and divide attention to complete different tasks.
He just really thrived. He did very well, and his team there was wonderful. They made sure that they were pushing him to do better, and he had the mindset that he was going to do better and he was going to get home and be on his own.
One of my favorite moments is when somebody says to me, "I can't believe I just did that. I never thought I'd get to this point." And it's like, yeah, you did it. You got yourself to that point.
It gives you a peace of mind that there's something other than where you're at the moment, and kind of inspirational, kind of like, hey, let me get out, let me get better, and let me go enjoy the world. I've heard it countless amount of times how lucky I am, with everything that happened to me, how I went from basically being in a coma, who knew if I was gonna pull out of it, to where I am today is nothing more than a miracle. One day, hopefully soon, I could come around to say thank you to everybody. So this video is following the story of a patient who was in a bad car accident and whose life was saved thanks to Mainline Health. Basically, I was one of your patients back in November. You guys literally saved my life.
Wow.
I just want to say thank you.
It's amazing. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's why we do what we do. Amazing.
It's been my absolute pleasure. I'm feeling like I'm tearing up right now, which wasn't the plan. It's surreal.
We do everything we do, and then we don't see folks later. And sometimes we get true surprises, or we've taken care of somebody and just not thought about them for a while, and then we run into them and they're like, oh my gosh, wow.
From the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you guys enough. I wouldn't be here without you guys.
Oh my gosh, it was our pleasure. So happy you're doing well.
I'll give you a hug.
Oh my gosh. It's a
There you
pleasure seeing you.
I feel like it's definitely a second chance, and I'm not going to take life for granted anymore. It's been quite a journey, to say the least.
I'm emotional, buddy. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.